Before we get into the substance here, which I'm just as excited about as what I'll do here, but I'm very excited to say tonight at 7:15, go Bills! As some of you remember, I persuaded them when Mr. Wilson was still around to have their summer training camp here in Rochester. And since they've moved their summer training camp to Rochester, they've done better and better and better, and they're going all the way this year. They're just great. Thank you. And I kept the Bills in Buffalo, as most of you know. There was, remember John Bon Jovi? And some very wealthy Toronto family wanted to move him to Toronto, but we beat him. And I saw John Bon Jovi a little while ago, and he said, "You did what you had to do, no hard feelings." But the Buffalo TV station, radio station still don't play his music. No, they don't. They still won't. Okay. Thank you all for being here. And I want to thank the folks who are here today. The great president of Lycycle, Ashe Kochar, thank you. Our great county executive, he does a great job for jobs in the Rochester and Monroe County area, Adam Bello. And our other attendees include Leah George Van Scott, Senior Vice President of Business Development for the Greater Rochester Enterprise. Where are you, Leah? I didn't see you. Ah, there you are. Okay. Professor Matthew Ganter. You know, RIT is one of our great assets. I always help them, and they're a great asset in the Rochester area and in the country for so much great stuff they do. And they run the Battery Prototype Center at RIT, which is a great thing. And we also have Vanessa Herman, who is the Vice President for Government and Community Relations at RIT. Where are you? You're Vanessa? Great. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. We love RIT, and we got them a lot of help in the CHIPS bill and other bills, and we're going to keep helping you. Okay. So, as you know, I've been working real hard in Washington the last month. We passed the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, it has a lot of good things in it that don't relate to today. We're finally going to have Medicare negotiate with the prescription drug companies, and the cost of prescription drugs is going to go way down. No one after this bill is passed will pay more than $2,000 for prescription drugs over a year. For many of us, that doesn't matter if we're healthy. But you're somebody who has to pay. You got a kid with cancer, and you got to pay $500 a pill. You say lots of bad things, which I'm not going to say, but this will stop that. The bill will also reduce people's we're going to high prices of electricity and natural gas this winter. It's going to reduce those costs by $1,800 a year because we're going to have clean, green energy here. It's going to create tens of thousands of jobs in upstate New York as we convert. We have a lot of things going here. The only green hydrogen manufacturing plant is over in Batavia. And as you know, I got the Albany company, Club Power, to locate its factory here with 300 jobs, and they make batteries, they make forklifts that are green and use their fuel cells. Oh, I need this. Gotta call you back. Okay. That makes so we have a lot of things coming here in the Rochester Finger Lakes area because we have a well-educated workforce. We have great institutions like RIT, U of R, SUNY Brockport, SUNY Geneseo, Nazareth, St. John Fisher, that give us a great workforce. So, but in the Inflation Reduction Act is the single largest federal investment in clean energy ever in United States history. And it's going to create, as I said, this is a game changer. It's going to bring jobs to upstate New York. I am using my clout as majority leader to make New York, upstate New York, a center of all of this new manufacturing and all of this. We're going to try to get chip fabs here, some of the largest new chip fab plants. We're going to try to make a center of research at our higher ed institutions. We're going to do green power, like at Plug Power. It's such a great opportunity. But there's another part of clean energy that's going to be a game changer for the Rochester Finger Lakes area, and that is batteries. And I'm here to announce my plan to help Lycycle, one of the nation's largest battery mineral producers, tap these new federal investments and supercharge the new 220 employee battery mineral recycling factory here at the Eastman Business Park. It's been one of my missions to get jobs back at Eastman when we lost all the Kodak jobs, getting new, good-paying jobs back. And this is one step in that situation. You know, every piece of modern technology needs batteries, from laptops to electric cars to cell phones, even my flip phone. People ask, how do I keep a Senate with only 50 votes together, running from Bernie Sanders to Joe Manchin? I talk to people. I don't email. Every one of my senators has my phone number, and they talk to me directly, no staff. And I say what you think. If you think I'm doing something wrong, tell me. And that's how we all come together, by being candid. But anyway, this flip phone needs batteries too. But right now, we almost make none of these batteries in America. For decades, in the 70s and 80s and 90s, we let all of this great manufacturing go overseas. But that's got to change, and batteries is at the top of the list. Batteries and the minerals that are needed to make batteries, lithium, nickel, cobalt, are made overseas in China and East Asia. And that is really dangerous, not just for our economic security and jobs, but for our national security. You talk to our generals, our military people, if China were to stop sending us batteries, a lot of the military equipment we need, some of it which we're sending to Ukraine right now, wouldn't be available. And so we need to, so it's national security as well as others. So what we have said is we're going to stop relying on China for these rare minerals. We're going to make the U.S. a domestic source. And the law requires that. The law says within 2 years, we've got to have the batteries made in America. We've got to have the electric cars made in America with the batteries in there, which is a really good thing. One big provision in the Inflation Reduction Act will be a game changer and launch Li-Cycle and the Rochester workforce to new heights. You see, it creates a new consumer. This is another thing it does. It creates an electric vehicle tax credit. If you buy an EV, you'll get $7,500 off to encourage people to buy it. And that will create a huge new demand for battery-driven electric vehicles, battery-powered vehicles. But the key is that to use the tax credit, as I said, the car companies must use locally sourced or recycled materials, lithium, cobalt, nickel, that's made right here at Li-Cycle in Rochester, because this is one of the great sources of domestic center for these minerals. So there's going to be a huge demand here at Li-Cycle because of this bill, a huge demand. To meet this new, huge, locally sourced battery and mineral demand, Li-Cycle is going to have to ramp up. And there's going to be, and its Rochester operations are the hub. They have a lot of spokes, as I understand it, that go find the batteries, but they bring them here to Rochester where they take the lithium and all the other stuff that's in the regular batteries and recycle them for electric batteries. That's a great thing. You're very smart to think of that up. And I was very lucky to have put in legislation something that helps you even more. But it's a great thing. So today I'm announcing my support for Li-Cycle to tap some of the $325 billion in new investments created by the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure bill to help them ramp up quickly to meet this demand. For starters, I'm pushing for Li-Cycle to secure funding for the $3.1 billion in the Department of Energy's Battery Materials Processing and Manufacturing Grant. There's a whole $3.1 billion just for this, to make batteries here. And companies apply. And so I already wrote Secretary of Energy Granholm to push for Li-Cycle to access these. Again, I am proud to use my clout as majority leader, first time we ever had a majority leader from New York, to help the Rochester Finger Lakes area and to help New York State in many different ways. We're basically talking about an all of the above approach, because there are other programs also available. There's $500 million in the Defense Production Act, because as I said, our national security needs these batteries. There's $250 billion in the Department of Energy for clean energy loans. There's $10 billion in advanced energy project tax credits and $60 billion in project tax credits, all aimed at having it come here, not in China, because that risks our national security and that has taken away jobs, and we're bringing them right back here, okay? So, the federal government's investing big billions in new battery programs, and Li-Cycle's ready to take advantage of it. I'm here to launch a major push to make sure Li-Cycle taps that money. And if there's one more key ingredient that will make Rochester and the Finger Lakes a battery production area, here it is, because we also have a Build Back Better challenge, and that is, guess who's going to do research in battery production? Binghamton University. This amazing thing, I met the man. He created the lithium battery. His name is Whittington, I think. He's an Englishman, but he's a professor at BU, Binghamton University. And he's the expert, and we just got them a $65 million grant to do more research on the batteries, which is going to aid Li-Cycle too, because once you have the materials, there'll be more kinds of batteries and everything else. So this is how we're helping upstate New York across the board. Okay? The bottom line is, I'm going to fight to make sure Rochester is a lightning rod for federal investment. All the kinds of jobs we used to have here, I'm still fighting for those. By the way, I told the head of GM, Mary Barra, that we want electric car production here. The Lexington Avenue plant employs about 1,000 people. The Lockport plant employs more than that, and she's going along. So we already got 200 new jobs to make a component of electric cars up at Lockport. So all of this is working well. This is great and exciting. And with that, let me, who's our first speaker? Is it Adam? Ajay. Ajay, you're on. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry to be quick. We're late, and I'm due in Washington to speak on the floor of the Senate at 4 o'clock. I don't know if I'll ever make it.
We'll be brief as well, and thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
And I'm proud to say we're up for the challenge, Senator.
Thank you.
So thank you all, staff, our partners here on the project here at the Rochester Hub. We actually have 2 facilities here in Rochester. Our spoke is also here as well. Our local great stakeholders from the greater Rochester area who have been very supportive for us as we've gone on this journey. Came back, probably 4 years ago to this region, so thank you all. Appreciate you being here. And thank you, Senator, for being a steadfast supporter of the clean tech space and for getting the IRA and also the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, bit of a mouthful, through, and we really appreciate your leadership in this regard. So from our perspective, both acts are critical accelerators for America to be electrified and to electrify our transportation and all aspects of life. And we've been doing this for 6 years now, and back in our starting phases, folks would wonder, why are you even tackling recycling of batteries? But here we are, 6 years later, and it's becoming mainstream, and it's all around us in everyday lives.
It's like
your cell
when
phone
Henry Ford
and more.
said there should be cars instead of horses, everyone said you're crazy. So Ajay's like the Henry Ford. He understood that electric cars were going to be very important long before other people did.
And it comes with a great team, exactly. So this is going to enable us to support automakers to meet their recycled content, their domestic content for lithium, nickel, cobalt. That's what we're going to be building right here, making right here in Rochester, repurposing this plot from the Eastman Business Park, which is super exciting, and making those chemicals domestically here in the United States. And what I also add to that is, as we go forward here in terms of our build-out, we'll be getting further acceleration, obviously, through this support. Right. And that is extremely encouraging to see. We've seen this market be all over the world in terms of different components in different parts of the world. But the reality is we need to build out this full supply chain here, right in the United States. I call it a bit of a clean industrial revolution. Right. And that's what we're part of. And so this is exactly supportive of that. So just to explain exactly what we do, I'll take a step back. So I mentioned we were started 6 years ago. So we have 2 parts to Li-Cycle. It's a spoke and hub business model, as mentioned. So think of it like reverse logistics. So basically, materials flow through the spokes. We process them. We actually have a spoke just down the road. Some of the teams here from there. That's actually our first facility here from Rochester. And we have a network of those that we're building here across the United States, North America, and globally. And then this facility is the hub. So that's basically where we're taking the intermediate product from those network of facilities and transforming it back into battery-grade materials. I call it urban mining. That's what it is.
Mining. Good.
So urban mining is what we're doing right here in upstate New York, and that's what we're going to be doing in this facility. It's getting constructed behind us. Now, what I'd say, just for a sense of scale, because sometimes people wonder how big is this facility going to be, we're recycling about 225,000 electric vehicles worth of material through this facility.
Wow.
And making an equivalent amount of material out of it. We also will be the first new significant source, not tying it with mining, because we're recycling, of recycled lithium, nickel, cobalt, but actually whether for mining or recycling will be a new significant source of this right here in the United States. And as folks know, mining is a bit of a long lead activity, so we're able to meet this demand sooner through recycling. And also, very proud to say that we're creating over 220 jobs right here in this facility. We've had 1,000 jobs at the peak, maybe more, as part of our construction. And that's in addition to our existing staff and cohort at our spoke, also in Rochester, New York. So remain committed, and this will help supercharge us as we continue to grow into the future. Our investment here for this facility, for the Rochester Hub, again for a sense of scale, is $485 million. So almost $500 million we're investing into this facility. And we were doing that again, and this is exactly an accelerator to help us go further and be charged up. So what I would just say is we just really appreciate the leadership, the support, again, our local stakeholders, our staff, our partners. This is extremely exciting, and through our efforts, we'll be able to help electrify America and bring jobs to communities like this and across the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, RJ. Thank you very much. This man's a visionary. I'm glad he chose Rochester. And I would just say this, I am committed to do whatever I can. There's going to be lots of other opportunities that come up because this bill is so large and expansive, and I'm committed to helping Li-Cycle in whatever you ask for in the future as well.
Appreciate it.
Okay. We have a great county executive, and he is always interested in jobs for Monroe County. He's a straight shooter, no BS, and he really does a wonderful job. We work together extremely well. We did when he was the supervisor of Irondequoit, and we continue to do it that he's now, we're all lucky, the Monroe County Executive, Adam Bella.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And I'll be brief because we need to send you back to Washington so you can continue to bring us resources here. But I can't thank Majority Leader Schumer enough for being in Rochester today and for all that he brings to us, the resources he brings to our community. One of the things that I love most about Senator Schumer is that despite his national obligations to the whole country, he knows that he puts us first. And here in Monroe County and Rochester, and the resources that he brings back to our community to grow jobs and protect the health and safety of our residents is always number one. And I want to thank you for that and your continued dedication to us. Whether it's the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CARES Act money that we had to help protect our residents during the pandemic, and now the American Rescue Plan dollars that we have, we're focusing on health, safety, infrastructure, and of course jobs, getting this economy back moving so that we're stronger after this pandemic than before we went into it. That's what Senator Schumer is working on, so I want to thank you. Ajay, it's great to welcome you here to Rochester. Where'd you go? Oh, right behind me. I'm glad you're able to come back, get a check-in on your investment. I want to thank you for the significant investment that you've made here in Monroe County. You know, Monroe County and Rochester, we are long home to business innovation. Right? We're founded on Kodak, Xerox, Bausch & Lomb, so many other companies that have really left Rochester's mark, not just on a national stage, but across the world. In fact, where we're standing right now, it's a city within a city. It was a brilliant innovation that at the time of Eastman Kodak. And as times change, technology advances, so too must our innovators. And Li-Cycle is furthering that legacy of innovation right here in our hometown. We were just talking about this. The company that's building right here in the city within a city is reusing batteries by reusing Eastman Business Park. We're recycling, and that's what we need to do in order to build into the future. You have to think about how we take that infrastructure, the legacy, the investment that has been made to build this city and build this county, and how do we retool that investment just like we're retooling in education and so many other ways to build the economy of the future, right? I'll tell you this, I'm a parent of 2 small kids. They're growing. They're 11 and 13. But we often talk about how we're educating that next generation of leaders, and we're educating them for jobs in an economy that doesn't even exist yet, right? So how do you train this next generation for a job that we don't even know what it is? Life Cycle is that perfect example. Eastman Business Park was created, but it was created in a way that can be reused, repurposed for future generations, for industries and technologies that George Eastman never dreamed of. And Life Cycle had the innovation, the technology, and the creativity to figure out how to do that here. This right here is important to Monroe County. Life Cycle is our industrial development agency's largest project. This is the largest project in the history of the Comita board supporting your investment here. So we want to make sure that they're successful. We want to make sure that we're filling those jobs. We know we can do that here, and this is a full team effort. It's our federal, state, local partners, it's our colleges and universities, it's our towns, all working together to make sure Life Cycle is successful. So, Senator, thank you again for all of your work and all the resources that you brought. Thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
Great.
And go Bells.
2 quick things. One college I forgot to mention, which does a great job at training people in the new kind of manufacturing tech jobs we need, is MCC. I left them out when I named all the other colleges. And then I want to thank all the workforce here, because the reason this area attracts people is we've always had one of the hardest working, really most dedicated and most educated for the jobs we need of any other place in not just in New York, but in the country. I believe it was Yale University did a study of all the big metropolitan areas in the country as to who would be best for training new tech jobs. And guess who came in first? Rochester. It was only done a couple of years ago, so we got a great future here. We'll take questions. We're going to do them on this subject because I got to skedaddle. This subject.
Quick question, Senator or AJ. How many folks are working now in the recycling operation? And you say you're going to add 220 over what period of time will that happen?